This episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
And thank you so much for being with us for this hour of Made in America, where we get to feature the manufacturers manufacturing in America and those cool products that we want to support. So you're out there, you're listening, you know what to do. It is by a Made in America product. And so my guest is Shelley Brady. She's got a very cool product and a very great story. So Shelley, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so the fun thing here that most people don't realize is that last week I interviewed someone that was, made in America out of Maui. So that was, 6 hours on one side of things. And now you're in Paris, France.
Yeah.
So you're 6 hours on the other side of me. And I just, feel like I'm so lucky that I get to be all over the world. Yeah. So tell us, what did you invent 30 plus years ago that is still made in America? And how did you swing all across America to do this?
Okay. 30 plus years ago, it's been, and it did fly by, I created a product called Tub Tints, Tubtints. And I have a little, this is 30 years old, but it's still, I still carry it around with me. It's just my little baby. But I created this product with my sisters. It's a children's bath product. I was living out in California in Marina Del Rey. I was renting a boat, had a great little career going as a fashion merchandiser and costume designer in LA, working on films and TV, different things like that. And one weekend I flew back to Tulsa to visit my family. My older sister had 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I was staying with her when I was visiting, and it was bath time for the kids. I was helping her, and she was pulling stuff out of the closet. And she made this comment, kind of like, I hate all this bath stuff sitting around my bathtub. I wish somebody would come up with something really pretty to get the kids in the tub so I didn't have 50 toys. And that weekend, we started tossing around this idea. My little sister came in. She was involved. She's very creative. She actually came up with the name Tub Tints. My older sister had the 2 kids, so I have to give her the credit where credit is due. And I took over, the investigative sleuthing, and then, created the product and the marketing. But that weekend, we came up with an effervescent bath product that we wanted, as we talked through it, and this is something that you probably hear over and over again. The first concept usually changes, it morphs into other things. So at first we came up with one different kind of product for the bath, but we were thinking about the pros and cons, and we kind of weighed out the possibilities. And that's how we came up with an effervescent coloring tablet for the kids' bath water. And we created them in the primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. We didn't want any fragrance or additives in there because a lot of moms know, and maybe just parents and dads too, I don't want to exclude, but all those other products can create urinary tract infections and dry skin and all those different types of things. So we wanted it to be clean. We wanted it to be beautiful and fun to get these kids in the tub. So I went back out to California, Back then, I was writing everything down on a legal pad by hand, and my handwriting isn't that great to begin with. And I was sending faxes off my boat to different manufacturers. And the way I found manufacturers back then, before the internet, was I went to the Santa Monica Library, talked to this really nice librarian, and I pretty much said, I want to make a fizzy tablet. I wasn't even in the sink of saying effervescent. So she helped me with this thing called the Thomas Register. And it was basically a big yellow pages of all the manufacturers in the United States. So I found 3 or 4 names. Back to the boat I went, called, and just was trying to locate a manufacturer that made an effervescent tablet, because they're very unique. They can stick in the tablet presses. They have to be, air conditioned to a certain point, no humidity, all these things you learn down the road. But I literally was in America. I needed to find someone in America. Again, the internet wasn't around. So it wasn't like I could just, shoot off an email to Hong Kong or Taiwan or something anyway. So I found a few different manufacturers in America after a lot of phone calling, but that's, what it takes. It takes that research and development. And I found my first manufacturer in Missouri, and I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So it was really just a car ride away. And he and I told him what I needed. He was super small, almost like a Quonset hut kind of small. And I went to this little tiny town. I rented a Motel 6. He came over to the hotel, and for 6 hours we ran bathtubs to bath water, different levels, 3 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches, 12, because different kids, different levels of tub. You're going to put a 2-year-old in a different amount of water than a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old. So we had to make sure that the ratio was right. So they weren't using 20 tubs per bath, but we, wanted them to be able to create the different colors. So we got the ratio down. He started manufacturing for me, and I was kind of off to the races with that guy. He was the one that really helped launch it. And I did find other manufacturers as I grew, but that guy literally got me started. And it always takes just one person that believes in you and wants to see you succeed, and that will help you out that gate.
Absolutely. We see that, and, I've had the products, and, I have 4 grandsons. So they were doing pink, but they wanted the blue and the green and, the yellow and all those kind of stuff. And, their mothers were very concerned that, nothing had the aromas or anything that could cause any problems. So they bought it. Mm-hmm. Both of my daughters, different parts of the country, they bought the product. And when the kids would come and see me, it would be in their suitcase.
Awesome. They would bring it with them.
They would bring it with them. Yep, absolutely. And so, and that morphed over the years, just like your experience, and, different things, and you had different names.
Yep.
All right. So you had Tub Tints. What did it become then? Because that name didn't go as well.
Yeah, it was one of those things, like I explained, like Kleenex, or certain words that are created for a product. And that's what you associate any kind of a tissue. You just say, hand me a Kleenex more times than a tissue. But the word Tub Tints was kind of a tongue twister. So people were thinking it was a tent over a tub, because we literally, Rita, we created this category. When I first started this product, there were no other products like this in the United States for kids. One of the manufacturers that I did speak with said, I've been manufacturing effervescent tablets for 40 years. And Shelley, I think you have something. I've never seen anybody make anything like this. So that was when I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to hustle. I really got to hurry before one of these toy companies or a bath company thinks of this product that I thought of with my family. So, so the gentleman who helped me start it, we had the name Tub Tints. I trademarked that. And then as time went on, we decided to use the name Color My Bath. So let me just grab one of these. I have, and I have some different packaging we went through, but this is the Color My Bath product that's on the market now. And the reason that we love this name and this logo is because it's so easy to understand. It says what it does what it says. And it's easy just to put two and two together.
It's so funny because when somebody says, well, what should I call it? And I said, I don't know. Get a good bottle of wine, get your friends to sit down, set it in the middle of the table and say, what would you Google to find this? And then you pick some of those words, you add a few to it, but it's got to be intuitive because you know what? You don't have most of the people I deal with, they don't have $1 million to teach someone that an apple is something that you play with instead of something you eat.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so for most inventors, you educate them to know what they're looking for, unless you do good words. You got to be smart with your words, is what I always tell everybody. So we are going to be right back with Shelley to talk more about her experience with Made in America and some of the challenges that she faced. So stick with us as we take a break to go and pay some bills. And if you know someone, if you've got a favorite product out there that is made in America, it's got a little tag on it that says Made in America, get them on the show. Have them give me a call. Have them reach out. And they're going to say thank you. So hang in there, everybody. We'll be right back.
This segment is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America, where we get to feature and tell the stories of those brilliant people who are manufacturing their product in America. My inventor today and Made in America expert is Shelley, and Shelley Brady is, she's the best of both worlds because she's an inventor, which I love because we do Invent America, but she's also made in America, which just makes it extra special. But I'm sure that over the last 30 years, you had some challenges besides just the name that people could find you. So Shelley, share a little bit about some of the challenges you've had.
Well, one of my first challenges was a gentleman who I met with, who was a manufacturer, and he believed in my product, believed in me, but he said, Shelley, you're in the idea stage and I'm a big company. So I really can't work with you because you're not in big production. And he said, when you are, give me a call back. So when you're a small gun, that saying people are always for the underdog, but they want to run with the big dog. He was rooting for me, but I was too little for him. So, once I started to grow, once I started to sell the product, once I had sales reps and some distribution, which started in Dallas at the mart there, and then I got sales reps in LA and in Atlanta. I called him back and I said, Fred, I think I'm big enough for you now. And of course he signed on and he became my next manufacturer because I outgrew the little guy. And yeah. I told Bill, I was like, Bill, I love you to death. You got me going. I said, but I really need this many pallets. And he was like, Shelley, I just don't have the machine. And he said, go for it, girl. So I thanked him very much. I went on to Fred. Fred and I had a great relationship. We still do. I still call him if I need things or feedback. It's one of the great things about going through the process, because when you go through the process, you meet so many different people. You can't use or go into business with everyone, but you're casting such a wide net, and you can always go back to that pool at some point if you need something else, even if it's advice. So working with Fred was a blessing.
So, you touched on a couple of things. Things have changed in 30 years.
Yeah.
All right. So, now somebody's like, oh, I'll just put up a website and I'll sell online. I'll do social media marketing. Well, back then, there was no social media marketing. How'd you get the word out? How'd you start getting people interested? You couldn't go out on YouTube and do a video, and there was no Facebook to say, oh, buy this cool new product. What'd you do?
Oh my gosh. I was the PR and marketing machine. I did not have any money. I mean, we really were a mom and daughter business. Three sisters and a cool mom. So I was on airplanes all the time for two things. The product had momentum because there wasn't anything like it. So I was doing, like I said, the trade shows. And we were very fortunate that we had a big buzz around us, and we had a lot of people coming to the trade show to our booth. And I had great distributors and showroom people that really helped sell the product and all their people. But I was on airplanes. I was sending packages to Parenting Magazine, Parent Magazine, catalogs. I mean, I did have a pretty high mailing list, Bill, at UPS. But the only thing that I could do was get the product to them. I'd get on a plane and go to New York. I'd knock on Sesame Street's door until they saw me. I stood in line one time out in the freezing cold in Manhattan at Rockefeller Center, waiting in line to get into the Rosie O'Donnell Show, because a friend of mine said, if you can get to Rosie, ask for this guy. He's a producer. He's really cool. So my girlfriend and I were waiting in line. It was like a movie, because they let in like 30 or 40 people at a time. And then they go, we have one more space. And my girlfriend was ahead of me. And I looked at her like that. And she was like, God, tell Shelley, go. So she handed me her ticket. I went in, she stood out and probably got a coffee next door, and waited for the show to end. And after that show ended, the Rosie O'Donnell Show, I waited for all the audience to leave, and I had this one name that a friend of mine told me about. And I leaned over the balcony to a camera guy and I said, hey, do you know who Bernie Young is? And they go, yeah, he's that guy right over there. And I go, oh my God, could you get him for me? They were like, well, okay. So he went over and brought over, he was her producer. Now, he had no attitude, a beautiful soul. He looked up at me because, like I said, I'm hanging over the balcony rail. And I said, I'm Shelley Brady. I have this new product. It's super cool. There's nothing like it. Can you please get it to Rosie? I know she has these young kids that she's adopted. She'll love it. And I said, the only problem is I've just brought in the red and the blue. My girlfriend didn't make it in line, and she's got the yellow. And you got to have the yellow because you can't make orange or green without the yellow. And he was like, okay, young lady. And he goes, I'll go down with you to get it. And he literally got in the elevator with me, listened to more of my spiel. I think he was just taken with my enthusiasm, because you really do need enthusiasm and to believe in your own product to sell your product.
Yep.
But long story short, he got it to her.
Excellent.
She put it on the show at one point, months later. And when he called and told me, Rita, that she had put it on air, nobody knew she was going to do it, but Bill Pullman was there and she gave it to him. And I was at an airport going to see another probably newspaper or, a publisher. And he caught me right before I got on the airplane and told me, and I was just like, oh, geez, Bernie, thank you so much. So it's just little baby steps and then leaps, and then baby steps and then leaps. So, it's like that in life. You have a great day and things are rocking and rolling, and then it's like, boy, what happened? So, and that's business too.
It is. And especially like you were, little and you had to learn to run. And so, when we come back, we're going to talk some about some of those trade shows you went to, because we're big believers in trade shows. So stick with us, everybody. We want to send out a big thanks to King Productions for allowing this to happen. And we will be back next week as well for more Made in America. But stick with us. We will be right back with our star today, Shelley Brady.
If you're an inventor or you know an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org.
And so my guest right now is Shelley Brady. She is the really cool inventor, manufacturer of those cool little pads, little pedal, little little tablets that go into the bathwater for the kids, and you can make any color you want as long as you get the mix just right. Been there, done that, had grandchildren, had all kinds of cool colors going on. But Shelley, thank you so much for being with us. And the name of the product and the website where someone can go and find you.
Okay, it's www.colormybath.com. Well,
there you go. Colormybath.com. Easy to find. Go out there and get your kids, your grandkids, some of this cool product that is made in America. So, Shelley, we're big on trade shows. Trade shows have been around. Somebody asked me the other day, what was the first trade show you went to? I said, steel. Because my ex-husband was in the steel industry. So we'd go to these big steel conventions. And then it was the funeral home industry. And I went to, funeral home displays. Oh, were you? That's cool. Okay, so I was selling an embalming product, and it was awesome. It was easy to sell as long as I got to the trade show. It's the eye-to-eye contact. It is somebody looking at the product and saying, "Oh wow, this is really cool." Mm-hmm. You don't get that in virtual.
No.
I think that was the one thing that we really learned over and over again during the pandemic is virtual does not replace face-to-face, whether it's the classroom or it's a trade show where somebody can see your product, touch your product. And so what were some of the different shows that you went to?
Oh gosh. Well, the number one trade show in my industry is Toy Fair in Manhattan. It's at the Javits Center every year. Toy Fair has been going on in New York City for over 100 years. Germany might have started something a little bit earlier, but Manhattan Toy Fair is the number one trade show in the world. And that wasn't my very first trade show. My first one was in Dallas. And that was through a super nice woman who had one store in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She bought a case from me to be nice because, she's like, that seems cool. I'll buy a case. And she had such a little cult following in her store. She sold them that day because people believed in her. And they knew she wasn't going to sell them something that wasn't great. So she called me back and said, I want to buy 20 cases. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. 20 cases. I love you. And she said, listen, when you're ready to grow, because you need to be ready to grow.
Yep.
I'm going to send you to Dallas to one of my sales reps who is a super cool lady, and her daughter run the show. The showroom. And I got on an airplane and I went down there with my Tub Tints, Color My Bath. And they liked the product. They signed me from them having it. She was like, who's repping you in LA and Atlanta? And so she connected me with other people because she was selling it so well. And her sales reps. So you have the main person who owns the trade show booth and the company, but they've got 30 girls or whatever, women selling their product. And when they have kids and they love the product, then they're telling their clients. So it's like all the tentacles start going out on this wonderful little octopus. And so that went great. And then I was ready for New York City. So I went to New York and I had one little investor. I needed some money because I needed to bump up production. So I had this one investor and I said, I need a really cool booth. And so I had this beautiful plexiglass display that had the bubble water and it cost $2,000 30 years ago. So it was like 8 or 10 now. And I was like, oh my God, $2,000. And I got to New York, it was shipped and it was cracked.
Oh no.
So I have a water product, right? And the guys that are the union guys, at the trade show were like, we can't touch that. Literally. And he told me where to go out in the snow to get some glue that would seal the water and everything. And I was running around at night trying to find this. And, long story short, these hiccups happen, but just in life, you can't let it stop you. Right. So I got the glue. I came back and he told me what to do, but he couldn't touch the product because he was union. So he told me everything and my bubble thing went off the next day. And I had a great show. Again, we were the only one in Toy Fair selling an effervescent children's bath product that was educational. Because with, like you said, the red, yellow, blue, you can make lavender, you can make magenta, you can make chartreuse, lime green, or, blue green. So with our product, the variations are really like a rainbow of colors.
Wonderful. I know when we go to a show and somebody says, well, what if that doesn't work? It's like, oh, I've got plan B, C, D, and F. Because if you don't, yeah, then when the surprise comes, and there's always a surprise. It doesn't matter where you go. And when we're going with 30 inventors, there is always multiple surprises. So we had better have a plan, multiple plans, and flexible. You got to be flexible.
Yeah. You got to bend like the palm tree.
Yes.
Otherwise you'll snap.
Exactly. And so, when we go, it's like, all right, we've got all these folks coming and we're, managing all these parts, and there are certain rules that we follow. And somebody says, well, how many chairs do you have in the booth? None. We don't sit down.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is about eye-to-eye contact. If you're standing there, looking at somebody and they walk by, you catch their eye. If you are sitting in a chair, guess what?
They're going to walk on.
Well, their belly button doesn't talk back. Hello. So, and it's so funny because I would have, some of these folks who had asked me and says, okay, they'd come back to the booth and say, oh, we get it. Because if you go down 3 booths and there's somebody sitting there and they're looking at their phone, or they're sitting there talking to their buddy behind a table, guess what? We walked on by. And for those folks, just like you said, they're standing at the edge of the booth and say, what brings you to the show today? Oh, I've got a product down here, but that started the conversation.
Right.
You got to start the conversation if you're going to make a sale.
Definitely. And you know what? I've been to, like you, hundreds of trade shows. I've never, even if I'm not showing and I'm, walking the floor, I've never been to a trade show that I said, boy, that was a waste of time and money. Because you always meet somebody, you always learn something.
Exactly. And, we tell our folks going, it's like, you've got inventory to sell it. ASD is our big one coming up. We don't think about anything right now but ASD Market Week. And so for the inventors that have inventory, that's great. They can sell it. For the inventors that are just prototype stage, they can go and actually then get market research done. You can get more market research about your product in 3 days than you can in 3 months. And it's person to person. So
and collect those business cards.
Yeah.
Because you might be calling them 3 months from later.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can get potential for licensing right there. People talking is like, oh, very cool product. Would love to have it in our store. Who provides you with these kind of products? I would like to meet them because I'm not going to manufacture. Not everybody's got the skill set or the money to manufacture. So when we go to these shows, they learn so much. It's like, well, I can't go this year. It's like, that's an entire year that you are missing on getting your product out there and meeting people.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like you said, you got to meet people to be successful, right?
Well, you have to you need people to grow your business, right? I mean, you need people in every aspect of life. So yeah, even if you're not ready to sell it now, they're going to be on your hit list, 3 months from now or 5 months from now when you are ready, and they're going to remember you.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. When you say, oh, I met you at the show, that's the opening line. All right. And they go, what show? Oh, yeah, they were there. Now you've got their information and you can talk to them like you know them because you've met them. It makes a difference. It's so much different than thinking, oh, I can just meet everybody online. You can't.
No, they're not going to take your call, number one, usually, because they don't know you from Adam and their roster's full of things to do. But if you've met them, if you've exchanged cards at some point, they probably still have your card because most people keep their cards after a show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be right back and we're going to talk more about some of the successes and what's coming next because I know she's got a new product and we're going to share some of that information that she can share. But if you are out there and you know a cool new product made in America, send me the name of that product because then I will get them on the radio. And you know what? They're going to be thankful to you as the American consumer for sharing that information. So we're going to go and pay a few bills. A big thank you out to King Productions for allowing this to happen. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is a training pull-up for little boys, and it's a great product to use. It makes it easy for the parent and the child when learning how to potty train. The coolest part about the product is that you don't have to take the child's pants all the way down every time that they need to use the restroom. You can just open this part here, and the child can tinkle through here, and it makes it easy for the parent and the child. It's a great product, and I cannot wait until it hits the market.
We want to be able to talk to Shelley Brady again about some of the other things. This was not her only invention. She's got a couple of other things that are coming down the pike. One is already down the pike, but there's another one in the process. So what is your next industry, Shelley?
Okay, well, we do have some more products coming out with Color My Bath. And
Oh, cool.
They're not just bath, but we have some cool stuff coming out. I have a patent on an apparel item. So that will be that's my most current, other than still working on Color My Bath, that's my current project. And I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I never thought, I do have a fashion merchandising background, like I said, so it isn't like crazy that I would think of something in the fashion industry, but it came from a need. Most inventions do.
Absolutely.
It's building the better mousetrap, which nobody's been able to do. But other than the mousetrap thing, I was actually in Carmel, California on one project, and I sprained my ankle. And through spraining my ankle and not being able to work out with the VHS, which is way back when, that created my thinking of, why can't somebody do this? Or why hasn't someone done this? Or is it out there and I just haven't seen it? So after you start researching, you can find out if it's out there, if you can make it better, if you can be a competitor, because there's more than one product in different categories, right? So that was how I created one of my products, which I'm only mentioning that for people who might have thought of an idea, but they go, God, there's already these other things out there. How can I compete? Well, you can still compete if there's something unique and different about yours. So don't let other products that are already existing, stop you from creating yours if you think that there's something very unique about yours. I was in Hawaii with my husband, my French husband, on our honeymoon, and I was searching for something. I just felt like it had to be out there. And we went to 4 different islands, island hopping. And so I was surf shop hopping. And every time we went somewhere, I'd go into a surf shop, and I went into a lot of surf shops. And every time I asked for something, and again, my antennas were up. It's like, don't say too much, because these people are in the industry. It's super easy for them, a Hawaiian girl or guy, to hear this idea and to make it there. So I had to be kind of cautious on how much I told them. But in Hawaii, my husband ended up taking me to a fabric store, and I got a good pair of shears, and I was cutting away on our balcony, my new concept. It worked great. I wore it on the beach. I went back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, contacted my patent attorney. He did a research for me, and it didn't exist. So that's what I'm in the process of working on now.
Wonderful.
So and again, like you mentioned, Rita, I don't want to manufacture this new product like I am the Color My Bath. That's a big industry to take a hold of, and an expensive one to get into. So on this round of this invention, I'm going to be looking for a licensing deal or someone that wants to buy the patent from me and manufacture it, because they're already in the industry. They just don't have the idea or the patent.
And I love your lead in, because we are going to introduce you to someone who could do that, and take a look at it and say, okay, yes, this is something we would love to run with, or no, but call these folks over here, because they do have a lot of contacts. And, he's going to be at ASD Market Week shopping.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So you
Wow.
need to
Looks
come
like
and
I'm
buy a mannequin. You need to buy a mannequin and put it up there. Or you could just walk around and wear it, You're cute enough. You just walk around and wear it. And there's a whole floor there dedicated to fashion and
yeah.
clothing apparel. So we're going to work on that one for
Okay.
sure.
Thank
So,
you.
but well, you told me you made the accident of telling me you were going to be back in the States in March and April, and I'm thinking, there you go. So as you go through the, your history and what you have learned, all right, made in America is a big deal for us.
It is.
When we go and we look at, those labels and it's made in America, what was your biggest challenge with making in America and keeping it in America as we tie up this segment of
Okay.
Made in America?
Okay. I really didn't have, honestly, a challenge having it made in America. I wanted it made in America. Two, I wanted to be able to hop on a plane in case there was this problem and not be just talking and, FaceTiming to Hong Kong or one of these other countries. I've ordered product like packaging from America for years, and during COVID, I couldn't get it because everything was, stopping. So I had a big problem with with the original container that I was using because it was plastic. Since then, we've gone into a paper tube, which is a lot more eco-friendly as well. But I really wanted it made in America. Sometimes it's more expensive than having it shipped, from China or Taiwan. But then you have to also consider the tariffs, the customs. It's sitting in customs. If there's an issue, you can't get your hands on it, or it arriving and it's not what it's supposed to be, or it's already changed. There's so many issues, and then you're stuck with 20, 30, 100,000 or more dollars worth of things that you can't use.
Can't sell. So
yeah.
Big learning curves in all of this. I want to thank you so much, Shelley Brady, for being with us today for our Made in America episode. And you know what? We're going to have you back because I know that other one is going to be a success too. And we'll see what happens with that. But thank you, everybody, for being with us today for this episode of Made in America. And we are so proud to be part of that Made in America atmosphere. So stick with us, everybody. We will be back next week for another round of Made in America. Not sure what it's going to be, but it'll be there.